The Edge's 1976 Explorer is arguably the most important guitar of his entire career. This was his lone guitar at the start of U2 and the sound of those early records that helped to propel the band to its otherworldly status today, becoming one of the biggest rock bands of all time. This is such an incredible instrument, and I'm really excited today to make an entire video dedicated to the Edge's 1976 Gibson Explorer. All right, now let's start off by going over the story of how the Edge actually purchased this guitar. And there have been different retellings of it from him and Dallas over the years, but I'll let Edge himself talk about when he purchased this guitar.
Is that it?
This is it. This is the first guitar that I ever recorded with. The first guitar I bought with the idea that I might actually play with the band on stage in front of a live audience. I think I was 17 at the time when I bought it, and we just got together. I don't think we were U2 at that point, and I bought it in New York, where I happened to be. I bought it new. I just picked it up in the store, and it just felt so great. This is it. I actually went in to buy, I think I was going to buy a Les Paul, but I just fell in love with this guitar. I brought it back, and I was slightly like, oh shit, like it's a little strange looking. You know, I thought, are the guys in the band gonna look at it and go, what? You're
not
out,
serious.
you know? So I took it out of the case, like, you know, and they looked, it was like, there's a few strange looks for the first day, but everyone just loved the sound of it, and I think it became like a signature look. No one else was playing Explorers at that point, and so quite soon it became like the thing we were famous for.
And in the September 2005 issue of Guitar World, the Edge also spoke about purchasing the guitar, and I'll read a little bit from that interview for you guys. I was on a trip to New York and I went to a guitar shop. I didn't go with the intention of buying an Explorer. A Rickenbacker 6-string was what I was after, but when I picked up the Explorer, it felt really, really good. I wasn't expecting it, but the guitar seemed to talk to me. There are some songs in this, I said to myself. It was the only guitar I had. You should have seen in the studio when we recorded Boy. Steve Lillywhite was aghast when I took the Explorer out of the case. He just looked at me and said, what else you got? And I put my finger up and said, I've got one guitar and you're looking at it. So while some of the less important details are understandably fuzzy over the years and through various retellings of the story, the most important part of this is that Edge, when he was going out to buy this guitar, the very first one that he had with the intention of playing in a band, you know, hopefully becoming a well-known, you know, guitar player, everything like that, he wasn't after an Explorer, but the guitar spoke to him when he saw it and picked it up, and he felt this connection to the guitar, and that is so important. And I think that's very evident by the tones and the playing of especially those early U2 albums. When you saw that Explorer so much, it really became synonymous with the Edge and helped develop his sound. So just the fact that this guitar really spoke to him and he had a connection with it is so important, and he let that connection really decide the guitar that he walked out of that guitar store with that day. Now, I also think it's a good point in the video to talk briefly about the actual guitar that the Edge plays. It's a 1976 limited edition Gibson Explorer. It's a reissue of the 58 Explorer that they only made for 1 year, 1976. And the pickups in it notably are tarbacks, which are going to be hotter than T-tops like you'd see in his Les Paul Customs from the 70s. And there are two different kind of production runs in terms of the necks that they did in 1976. And I'll let Dallas in the Premier Guitar Rig Rundown actually explain and kind of talk about the differences in the necks.
Even then, as young as he was, the tone of that ball back neck, and there's two productions in 76. There's a January to April, which is less thick, and then there's a April to the December, which is really thick, and it's just done by I know them by serial number. So he owns 11 of these now, you know.
Wow. And they are all roughly in what
Yes, and they're straight up. They're just straight up. And
what year are they? All roughly the same year?
Yeah,
or?
1976. He only plays 1976 Explorers.
Wow.
And there's kids, you know, they'll send me notes up on stage. I got a 76, and it's so cool, you know.
Does he have you looking for 76s all the time?
Yes. Well, anymore, it's toned off a little bit, you know, a little bit. But he let me buy the majority of these guitars and bring them to his attention.
Now, the guitar is most famous in the early days, of course, for being that sound of the hook on I Will Follow. That iconic riff is so amazing. But to me, I also really do love 11 O'Clock Tick-Tock. There are some great tones with the Explorer, especially from those early days of the band. And I'll play for you guys a little bit of 11 O'Clock Tick-Tock. It's honestly one I listen to quite a lot. It's such a good sound, and the tones that the Edge gets with it are just really awesome. Now, as with most, if not all, touring guitars, the Edge's Explorer was not immune to the various battle scars that you'd get after years of touring, especially with the energy that the band played with live. But the Gibson Explorer did suffer a more substantial headstock break. On December 3rd, 1984, at Radio City Music Hall in New York City, during the second song of the night, I Will Follow, the bouncers were, just to paraphrase it, we're treating the audience not to the way that the band actually liked. And when the band stopped to kind of intervene in this moment, the Edge actually took his guitar off and rather threw it off to go and kind of handle the situation and try and help out. When he went back on stage, well, the headstock was broken, as you're going to hear the Edge speak to now.
It's had a few accidents over the years. This happened in Radio City about the mid-80s. We were playing a show, and the bouncers were particularly heavy in the venue, and there was some kids down the front getting pummeled, so I actually threw the guitar off sort of to intervene, and stopped it, and Bono stopped the show, and we got it sorted out. But I came back, picked the guitar up, and the head was hanging off. It was totally broken. So I got it.
You didn't break down yourself at that moment then?
I was a little stunned, to be honest, but we got it repaired, and I'm not sure it's affected the sound. I couldn't tell the difference when I got it back. So
it's like it's a broken neck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, I see that's a different.
Total insert of new wood into this to bridge the gap between this and this. And you can, when it was first done, it was a much better match, but over the years, the wood is. It's obviously a different kind of wood. It's become much more evident.
Now, what I'll do is I'll play for you guys the audio from this very performance when the headstock break took place. And if you listen to the Edge's guitar tone before and after the break in the song, you can just hear the lack of the punch that the Explorer has when the Edge actually got back on stage, noticed the headstock had broke, and had to switch guitars. It's kind of an interesting piece of history that I definitely have to play for you guys.
But I just say one thing, I had to say it here the last time. This city just began for us the last time. We won't have it spoiled now by any mistreatment of our people. These are our people. If it's anybody's fault, it's our fault. We make the music the way it's going like this. But it's rock and roll music, it's not cabaret.
Now, as the years and tours went on, the Explorer would be used a bit less, the Edge getting a more variety of guitars that he would use for recording and live, and also really gravitating more to the Stratocaster sounds, especially during the Joshua Tree era. And one of my favorite late mid-80s examples of the Edge using an Explorer live is the 1987 Paris performance of Electrico. It's just absolutely fantastic. And it's also worth noting that Dallas Shue, the Edge's longtime guitar tech, would confirm that at some point the original 76 Explorer was retired and reserved for predominantly studio use. Its sentimental value, all of the history of the guitar, they wanted to preserve it as much as possible and really just give it a rest from all the abuse of being on the road. So the Edge would play various other examples of the 76 Explorer live and kind of develop his new #1 touring version of that guitar, separate from, of course, the original. And one of my favorite eras, or really, I'd say my favorite era probably of U2, is the Zoo TV era in the early 90s. And the Explorer was used for Ultraviolet, and it's just a really awesome example of this guitar from that tour. Moving on to the early 2000s, and what I think is easily the biggest modern day hit with the Edge using the Explorer is Beautiful Day. And what's kind of funny is that during the making of All That You Can't Leave Behind, the band was kind of trying to reinvent themselves a little bit again and move away from that classic sound that they were known for. U2's done that a few times over the years, and I'll let the Edge in an interview talk about the making of Beautiful Day and how it wasn't quite getting there without going back to that classic U2 tone, at least for that one song. And am I ever glad that he did, because Beautiful Day is just such an incredible song.
This was an interesting part. It caused a bit of a stir in the studio when I first played it. I'll try and play it a bit more quietly. The reason it caused a bit of a stir is that at the point when we were making the record, All That You Can't Leave Behind, we were really taking our sound in a different direction, and when it came to arranging Beautiful Day, this part came to mind and I played it, and it just didn't sound good on the guitars I was using at the time, so I brought out the Explorer and the Vox and the Echo and played the part. And when everyone else came back in later on, they were like, you can't do that, you know, that's from a few years ago, that's not like where we're going. And I said, well, really, we have to be able to go back if it's right, if the song demands it. So for just one moment on this record,
And then with the release of How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, we would have Miracle Drug, and the tones, again with the Explorer live, are truly awesome. That's just such another really, really fantastic album. Now in 2008, the Edge would sell one of his Gibson Explorers at auction to benefit music rising after Hurricane Katrina. But what's kind of odd is if you go to various blogs and articles online, some of them will actually quote it as being his original 76 Explorer that was sold at the auction, but that's inaccurate. It was a long time backup, and I'm right on Juliens Auctions here, lot number 406, Edge stage played Gibson Explorer, and it's quoted as being sold for $156,250. Yep, crazy. The estimate was $80,000 to $100,000 US, and it did considerably higher than that. And I'm going to read just a little bit from actually some notes from the Edge from selling this guitar. This guitar has been in my collection for 22 years. I am always on the lookout for these limited edition Gibson Explorer guitars. They are not as rare as the original 1958 edition, but still very hard to find. Dallas found this one in Cincinnati, and it became one of the backup instruments for my main 1976 reissue Explorer during the 1987 Joshua Tree World Tour and many U2 tours since. This guitar has the sound that gives U2's early albums their unique timbre. Combined with the Memory Man Deluxe and a Vox AC30, most of the sounds of the Boy, October, and War albums are achievable. It's a classic design, and in my mind, one of Gibson's most innovative, the Edge. So right from Juliens Auctions on the actual article, very clearly one of the Edge's long-time backups. Still absolutely amazing that he sold it at auction, but just something I had to note in this video here, as I've seen people online talking about in various blogs and stuff like that, where they're like, yeah, he actually sold his original Explorer, and that's just clearly not true. And I definitely think it's worth making a note of, like how the Edge said in that quote from him in the auction 76 Explorer, and like Dallas had also said in the Premier Guitar Rig Rundown interview that I referenced earlier, they're always kind of just keeping an eye out for examples of the 76 Explorer because they are very rare. And one other interview that Dallas did, he kind of mentioned around 1800 was a number that was kind of said there about in terms of the examples of the actual production number of the 76 Explorer, which is certainly not a lot of guitars at all. Then even in that, you might have one that is, okay, it plays and feels decent to the Edge. One might feel really, really great and have that kind of same feeling like his original number one 76 Explorer. And then one, you never know, might be kind of a dog. So you got to kind of have a few of these older instruments to kind of really find one that the Edge can bond with, and then that certainly would probably become his number one touring instrument when he finds one that's good. But as they get abused over the years, if things happen, it's kind of smart that they have a handful of them at least at their disposal. I've heard numbers like 11 and 12 kind of thrown out there as well by Dallas. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, we have about like 12 of them or something like that. So I'm sure it's probably higher than that by now, but it just kind of gives you guys an indication of how many around number that the Edge kind of has in Dallas that they've acquired over the years. And what I think is easily one of the coolest moments of the Edge with this guitar is it might get loud with Jimmy Page and Jack White when the Edge is showing them I Will Follow, playing it, and you have all of them playing the guitars together. Such a just incredible moment with all of those musicians and the Edge showing them that song and just the tone of the guitar and everything when he goes back to the hook. It's absolutely fantastic, and it might be one of the last times we can probably say for certainty that we've seen the Edge with the original Explorer.
Sure about that, see? Okay.
That sounds good in there, doesn't it?
Sounds great though, it's roaring, yeah.
Now there is a really cool Canadian connection to the Edge in some of his Gibson Explorers that he's acquired over the years. Colin Cripps of Blue Rodeo actually sold Dallas a new old stock 76 Gibson Explorer in 2009, which he has mentioned on his Instagram is actually the Edge's number one touring Explorer now, which is really cool to actually also have some shots up close of that guitar, and it truly was an NOS 76 Explorer. It's really awesome. And he also does mention as well that he sold Dallas another 76 Explorer in the early 2000s that he would use and kind of become a bit of a backup in the early 2000s. And then through Dallas reaching out to him being like, hey, if you ever find more of those 76 Explorers, let me know. And then Colin, being a really cool guy, quite clearly was like, well, I have been holding on for a couple of years to an NOS one, and sure enough, it ended up being a really great connection because then it became that #1 touring guitar that the Edge would use. Really, really awesome. Out of Control is another really great example of a song the Edge uses the Explorer on, and we have some more modern examples of this song as well that are really awesome, like Sling Castle 2001, Glastonbury Festival in 2011. Some just more modern examples with really great footage, and I'm not including every song or like every performance that the Edge uses the Explorer on in this video, but I want to include a nice variety as well over the years to help really give some good tonal examples and references for this video talking about the story of this guitar. Alright, now at this point in the video, as we get near the end, I have to make a correction to the original version that I had briefly uploaded to my YouTube channel. These longer history, mini documentary style of videos are a huge labor of love. They take so much time to research and script, to shoot and edit before they actually go out on the channel for you guys to hopefully enjoy. And I make them for entertainment purposes, of course, but the primary reason I make them is to preserve the history and document things of, pieces of gear and the history of artists that I really love and admire, like the Edge and his 76 Explorer. So we're making a correction here to when I was talking about the Sphere residency in celebration of a Chung baby. The Edge did use the Explorer for Beautiful Day during this residency. It was the encore. I have to give a shout out to TMCL 2020 who had pointed this out, and as these videos, I want to make them as correct as I possibly can. I wanted to quickly reshoot this and talk about it in the video here. And he also mentioned he was at the Super Bowl, which would have been 2002, to see the Edge playing Beautiful Day live. That had to be absolutely amazing, but I'm going to kind of get ready to close the video out now with some footage of U2 performing Beautiful Day at the Sphere. And I hope you guys just appreciate me wanting to make sure this video is as accurate as it can possibly be for the sake of having that correct history of the Edge and this incredible guitar.
It's a beautiful day. All around you, see the poppy bee buzzing by, peregrine falcon climbing high, the glinting wings of the mariposa, the river laughing as the otter shows her. You see the bird who breathes in her mouth, after the flood, all the colors came out. All the colors came out. All the colors came out. It was a beautiful day. Get away. Beautiful day.
As just such a massive fan of obviously U2, but the Edge, his guitar playing, his guitar tone, the 76 Explorer is such an important guitar, and it was so much fun making this, my version of a mini documentary on the Edge and his history with these guitars, the various examples of the 76 Explorer that he's played throughout the years. And these are truly the videos that I have the most fun making on the channel. These more longer labors of love over the history of artists I love, their gear, things like that. It was really just truly, I had a lot of fun with this one. And in 2025, especially this year, I've really dived more into my love of U2, the Edge's playing, and his guitar tone, and you guys can definitely expect more videos surrounding the Edge and his gear and his playing on the channel, because this was a lot of fun, and I'm happy to kind of branch out a little bit more from the stuff you guys are known for seeing from me. And the Edge is one of my favorite players of all time, and I'm gonna kind of keep diving into that sound and everything a bit more and sharing it with you guys, sharing my passion for it with you guys on the channel. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other videos you'd like to see me make around the Edge and his guitar tone, let me know down in the comments below. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.